Thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, pleasure.
Great film. I'm recording it. Yeah. So just tell me when you're good to go, and then we can begin our natter. Seems a long time, doesn't it? Since, do you remember the Churchill War Rooms? With me?
I do. It is a while back now.
In many ways.
That was a lot of fun, though. I'm sorry if you hear anything in the background. Someone's building a house.
Gosh, so loud, isn't it?
Is it? Yeah. Shall I see if I can do anything about that?
I think. Oh yes, if possible, Gary. Yes, sorry, that would be great. Thank you. It is quite loud, isn't it? Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Fantastic. Well done.
Took his hammer away. Give me that hammer. No.
Borrow it for a minute. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah,
Very
they're going to lay off a little bit. Okay.
Much appreciated. Much appreciated. So first of all, congratulations on Mank. I mean, it's an epic. It's like we've been starved of epics in the funny old year we've had, and that is a cinematic epic. And little wonder that you called it the role of a lifetime. It's got everything in it, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty. It's a big meal, isn't it? The whole thing. Yeah.
I had heard of Mank, Herman J. Mankiewicz, but I'd only heard of a little bit about what he did. The connection with Citizen Kane, very, very vaguely, not in any great detail. So the story of this is going to come as a big surprise to a lot of people, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I probably knew as much about Mank as you did when I came to it. The only association I knew was with Citizen Kane, but in passing, and so it was a sort of well, like most things when you're an actor, you know, you're asked to become a bit of an investigator. You become a bit of a detective, and you start sort of digging around and finding out about these people. And it was quite a sort of well, a very talented family for a start, because, as you know, his brother Joseph Mankiewicz then went on to win. He wrote and directed All About Eve and Cleopatra, and he went on to win 4 Oscars and had a fantastic career. Mank came out to California early in the 30s, and he was writing cards for silent movies. And he had these, he's from the East Coast. He had aspirations, I think, of becoming a great sort of playwright or novelist, and considered that literature, as opposed to the movies, which were so in their infancy. When we see, when we meet these characters in the film, sound movies were 10 years old, so they were sort of in their infancy, and they were looked on as something. They weren't looked on as sort of an art form. Playwriting have obviously been around for so much longer, and so he came out, right? He was writing these cards, and it was a fantastic wit. And started writing scripts. And of course, back then he was earning, you know, he was earning a lot of money. He was the sort of head writer over there at RKO, invited all his friends out with a telegram that said, you know, come out, there are millions to be made and your only competition is idiots. And he got all these great writers come out, and through him, a whole new sort of genre of filmmaking was born. We get those wisecracking, sort of fast-moving comedies, gangster movies, the Marx Brothers, all of that. Really, the evolution of that came out of Mankiewicz moving to Hollywood. So he was very influential.
It's interesting that you talk about, you know, the talkies are just kind of, were just coming into the norm, if you like. It was the end of the silent era, the beginning of a new sort of cinematic era with the talkies. We're in one of those eras now, I suppose, because this film is made by Netflix. So we're seeing this industry evolve again, aren't we?
Yeah, I mean, David Fincher, his father, Jack Fincher, wrote the screenplay, and this was 30 years ago. So this movie was really sitting there. The script was on his shelf gathering dust. He had gone out before to try and get it made 20-something years ago. And back then it was only the studio system. And then they have these, what they call the foreign market, and they would have these deals in place, which restricted you as a filmmaker. You know, it had to come in under 2 hours, and it has to be in color. And David, I'd always seen, I think, the movie in black and white. He wanted the experience of the film more transportive and more immersive, rather than a movie like Chinatown, which is sort of widescreen in color, but it's a sort of looking back. It's a sort of it's a film that's looking at Hollywood in hindsight, so David really wanted to give you the feel that you were watching a movie from the 40s, and also, as you know, he put this incredible landscape on it, soundscape, where a lot of the sound is coming through the middle of the screen, more mono, and you get that a sort of echo of the sound bouncing off the back walls of the movie palace. So he wanted to give you the experience that you were hearing the movie in one of those old theaters.
So could this only have been made by Netflix, a film like that was so different?
Yeah, you know, with the new streaming system, I think it takes the pressure off that thing of the opening weekend. You know, your movie's got to make this much, or you sink, because they don't have to open it in the same way. Now they don't release; they drop. Which I don't like that expression, but you know, it drops rather than it is released. But you don't have to have that big opening weekend. And I don't know what it is. It's maybe 2, 3, 4 minutes, which counts as a view. So if someone you know connects with views the movie and they turn it off, after a certain amount of time, it counts as a view. So it's a whole different thing, and we're now at an age where I think the modern audience, because and obviously much younger generation coming up, because of the iPad and the computer and the iPhone and all these different venues that are there for viewing. Things like aspect ratios, where we don't mind anymore. We're happy with the square. We're happy with the letterbox. It doesn't matter if it's the old Academy ratio, which is really almost like a square.
Doesn't that sadden you a little bit? Does that sadden you a little bit, Gary? Because some films, this is an epic, you might want to see this on a big screen.
Yeah, I'm sad that most people will get to see it on a television. I'm currently working on a TV series, and was recently in London, and I'm very soon to come back. And I was staying at a hotel which is not very far from the Curzon Cinema, and for 4 or 5 nights they were playing Mank. And I said to my Doug, my producing partner, I said, I'd never seen it on a big screen. And I said, should we go and see Mank in the cinema on the big screen? It was obviously the pandemic was, there weren't many people in the cinema, but it was a real treat to see it 40 feet across. And also it's that collective communal experience that you have. A comedy plays very differently if you're answering the phone or making a cup of tea at home, and rather than a big group of people, 500 people all sitting in a cinema. It plays very, very, I think it's a community experience.
Do you fear for the future of cinema?
Well, I never thought that we would see the end of celluloid. I know that there are people that still make movies the sort of, as we, the old-fashioned way. And God bless them, the Tarantinos and the Chris Nolans of this world who have enough say to be able to go that route. I never thought I would see the end of celluloid in my lifetime, and it is almost been completely replaced by the digital process. So I don't know how to answer that. I think it'll be a very sad day, but then I come from a different generation. What you don't really know, you don't miss. And there's so many people now coming up, so many young people coming up where their whole viewing experience is on these little machines, and it's the norm. It's okay for them. That's all they know. That's all they know.
It's interesting you mentioned Christopher Nolan, because he and a number of other filmmakers have approached the British government this week and said cinemas need more funding. The big chains need to stay alive to keep the industry going. Do you think that's right?
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree with that. I've got to say that thank heaven for the Netflix and Hulu and Apple and all these people, because I'm doing an Apple show at the moment, Slow Horses. We're hiring a great many people, a lot of people who might ordinarily be out of work, just because of the way that the industry has moved. So on the one hand, that's a great thing for not only actors but filmmakers, technicians, the crew, all of those people who need to put money on the food on the table, and so that is a good thing. But yes, I would encourage. Let's try and keep these movie houses open, and some of them are, as some of them have some really beautiful movie houses hit the bulldozer. You know, I remember them going to the cinema as a kid. Some of these wonderful Art Deco palaces, you know, that are sadly have gone.
Right now, I'd be talking to you about Oscar nominations, because obviously your name is constantly being mentioned, understandably.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got to be. And David Fincher better get an Oscar nomination. But the Oscars have been shoved back many months. Right now, I'd probably be saying congratulations on your Golden Globe, Gary, because they would have been held last week. So all these things that we normally that punctuate the film year have gone. It's a strange time to be in the movies as well, isn't it? It must be.
Yeah, because when you've got a movie like Mank, I mean, I may be biased. I think it's a wonderful film. I think it is so it's so wonderfully crafted. This would be in any other year already on the circuit. So you go to, we have the Palm Springs Film Festival, you have Telluride, you have Toronto Film Festival. So there's a sort of a momentum and you can get a better view of what's going on. You get more of a sort of from 30,000 feet of how it's tracking and how well it's doing at festivals. And so this is a very strange time, and with the absence of those festivals, it's being able to find different avenues to get the word out, to make people just basically aware that it's happening and that it's out there. So it has been very, very strange. We would be doing this in person.
We would.
I think the last time we met, we were, as you said, we were at the war rooms, and I think I was in town for maybe 3 or 4 days, running here, running there, doing this kind of thing face to face. So this has been, there are advantages to it. I'm wearing shorts.
I'm wearing trainers.
There you are.
Yeah. I mean, it's also a time for courage in the industry, isn't it? When you make a big film, to release it. And I mean, a lot of filmmakers have decided, the Bond film, for example, we can't get it out in all of the cinemas. We're just going to hold on to it, which had a fair amount of criticism. Some filmmakers have gone ahead, Nolan with Tenet, just thought, I'm just going to release it. What is the right way to play this, do you think? I mean,
I really don't. I don't have an idea. I mean, I thought that with Chris releasing Tenet the way he did, it's a movie that you want to see. It's an event. It's a sort of experience that you and I would imagine that it's the same for Bond. They're being optimistic about where this whole pandemic is heading, and are we ever going to get back to a normal way of living? They say that if you're vaccinated, and once you're vaccinated, that you won't need the mask anymore. But what do? Do you wear a T-shirt that says "I have been vaccinated"? If you're walking around without a mask, you're always going to get that person. Hey, you're not wearing a mask. It's a whole new world to navigate.
How is it being on a film and TV set in bubbles and things? Sorry.
It is a little odd, because you've got your construction crew and your carpenters, and they're in one bubble, and then you've got costume and props, and then only certain people from that department can sort of cross-pollinate, and then you've got your A section and your A bubble, which is the actors and the main crew, and then you're wearing the mask, but when you get to the set, all the crew are wearing masks, but obviously the actors take them off to do the scenes. There are certain people that aren't allowed over at the into these different sections. So sadly, there are now people that you would once your paths would cross on a set, and now there's a whole group of people that you never see. It functions remarkably well, or it certainly has been thus far, so it's amazing how they kind of coordinate it, but it makes I think it does make life a lot more stressful for the producers and the production team, to keep everybody. It's like any movie. It's like it's maneuvers. It's amazing to me that we get these, a map and a location, and that all these people turn up, and they all found it. How they ever did before GPS. And there's the caterer and the actors and the trailers, and you go, this sort of circus that kind of moves around. I think that is now doubly hard with COVID restrictions, finding locations, how many people are allowed on the set. You can't come in, that person can't come out. It's a whole new thing, and I must say it works remarkably well. So I'm very impressed by the team that we have at Seesaw. Yeah.
I would normally say I'll see you in person on a red carpet in Los Angeles at the Oscars, but obviously I can't see that happening. It'll probably be all digital and on screen, won't it? And do you think it's only April, isn't it, when it's being held?
Yeah, I wouldn't put a lot of money on it being a live event. I don't know what's going to happen to the theatre. What is going to happen to the theatre? As you know, a lot of those places, those old Victorian playhouses. You're elbow to elbow. There's no way you can social distance in a Victorian theatre. That's I when in the car on my way to work, different routes that you take. You go down Shaftesbury Avenue, for instance, and you see all these theatres that are dark, and my mind just goes to, well, it's not just the actors. You've got to keep a building. You've got to look after a building. You can't. If we ever open up the theatres again, you don't just open up the doors and let the people in. There's plumbing, maintenance. Then you've got the ushers. You've got the box office people. The knock-on effect of this in so many areas has been completely devastating. It's people are really, really, really hurting, and it's a real shame. Don't know what we're going to do.
Yeah. Well, let's just try and focus on towards the end of the year or something. I don't know. I think you're right. I can't see the Oscars being what they normally are, but we should still celebrate. There's not been that many films really been released in the last year in terms of people, you know, it's been very difficult for people to make films. We should just celebrate the ones that did get out. You know.
And we've like a lot of people, we've been locked in, and we've, you know, I think Scrabble's become more popular, Monopoly, cards. I mean, there's all sorts of things, but we always go to that TV, and we need some relief from this and some entertainment. So, you know, gonna keep trucking on.
Keep trucking on, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in person again one day.
Yeah, one day.
You know, congratulations. It's a beautiful film. I've never seen anything like it, actually.
Thank you.
That's, you know, stands out on its own. It's beautiful. I love black and white. Everything's beautiful.
Yeah, I'll let David know.
He told me a lot I didn't know. Well, I better give David Fincher an award this year, for God's sake. So,
all right.
Yeah. All right. All the very best to you. Stay healthy. Thank you, Gary.
Yeah, and you.
Take
nice
care.
to see you.
Thank you.
Take
Bye.
care.
Bye.
Bye.